Before I get to a couple of videos, I want to make a terribly bad summary of every creepypasta I know. A creepypasta is a creepy story in the form of a known long story format, the copypasta. For example, to be fair, you have to have a really high IQ to understand Rick and Morty, but instead it's a spooky story, so I want to badly explain them as a form of Halloween video. It reminds me of when these stories were popular. It's fun and mostly family friendly. I won't talk about too many gory things. Also, I won't cover Abandoned by Disney, nor I Hate You due to the creator being mad at people who read his story, so I'd rather not provoke them. So let's go! Tails Doll. In Sonic R there was Tails Doll, a character that exists, but one of the renders portrayed it in a very dark room only by himself, which admittedly can make it look creepy. So someone made a story up about Tails Doll, the Tails Doll curse. Someone had found a copy of Sonic R, played tag with the doll, and suddenly the Tails Doll curse was activated. So the doll appeared in real life to destroy both the main characters and their friends with a chainsaw. Also, it exists. Also, apparently Shigeru Miyamoto used magic to prevent this from happening in Sonic Gems collection for some reason. No wonder this was one of the first creepypastas. Although plenty of video game urban legends existed, I'd easily recommend Tara A. Devlin's Gaming Mysteries playlist. For now, next Jeff. Jeff starts with a kid waking up, seeing someone who looks like this saying, "Shh, go to sleep," before the person ends the kid's life. So we get to see what happened to Jeff. Jeff was a kid living with his brother Liu, but then bullies, so he beats bullies using his superpowers that come out of nowhere. Leo takes the blame. Bye, Liu. Then Jeff goes to a birthday party, then bullies. Bully lights Jeff on fire. Jeff kills bullies. Hospital. Jeff comes out of hospital, but he's crazy. So the mother gets a shotgun. Too bad Jeff ends parents' life after saying, "Shh, go to sleep." Some people have a crush on the guy. Lavender Town. Apparently the music for Lavender Town was so dark it caused kids' life to end because spooky Japan. Too bad nobody reported on it, so it never happened. People just like to bring up this term every 16 seconds back then. It's why YouTube sort of shadow banned it, because by this point people overused it in order to shock viewers. Next, White Hand. There was a White Hand in Pokemon that ended people. Next, Hypno's Lullaby. Hypno lures children in his cave according to a Pokédex entry. Why are Poképastas like that? Pokemon Hunted Black. Someone found a spooky bootleg Pokemon cartridge where you only have one Pokemon, a ghost, and here the Pokemon don't faint, their lives come to an halt. At the end, Ghost is like, "Yeah, I'm going to destroy you." The game ends. Spooky? I'm kinda glad it led to people inventing fan games for this one. Audino, no, Audino, you're too precious for this world. I don't want to see you suffer. Ben is about a guy who posts on 4chan. A pretty terrible start, I might add.
That feel when Pearl will never eat you.
Which fusion would absolutely destroy Malachite. My
About how his Zelda Majora's Mask cartridge is haunted by a ghost called Ben after performing a 4th-day glitch. He is represented by the statue of the Elegy of Emptiness, a song you can learn later in the game. Then Ben sent other pieces of technology, such as Cleverbot. Remember Cleverbot? We may be laughing about it now, but this was posted in real time. Everyone believed it, except for me and a bunch of other people. It was then linked to a forum/cult that ran out of budget as stated by the creator, so we got the ending in 2020 and bye bye. Thanks, Ben. Another aspect that people have forgotten about is how people ship themselves with Ben or Jeff while writing a bunch of Ben x Jeff fanfiction. It is probably a bunch of teens, since Ben is 12 years old while Jeff is 13. Right? Right? At least we got Slenderman. Slenderman started from a bunch of fortune posts that edited editorial pics to include a mysterious tall man who kidnaps children in the woods. That might be it for the creepypasta, while games elaborated on Slendy lore, including SpongeBob Slendy Pants, which reminds me of Red Mist. The SpongeBob episode aired on a test screening where Squidward plays clarinet, but SpongeBob laughs at him, so he stares at you after crying before getting rigged by Mr. Krabs!
Have a bowl, Mr. Squidward.
Also, in the creepypasta, the person added pictures of random lifeless children to shock people, I guess. One other creepypasta that existed was one about a SpongeBob hijacking by a disgruntled employee, but that one is too modern. What I'll be talking about is the cancelled Nickelodeon show, Ape Escape. Nickelodeon is no stranger to weird things like in Rocco's More Than Life, although Ape Escape is for young children, so it's weird when Ape Escape brings kids to his van, stares at you for 30 seconds, and shows you 9/11. Yes, this is the part of the serious story. The protagonist finds a VHS, seeing all of these spooky things. The pasta is a bit too long for just the weird stuff that happens. Kinda like Godzilla NES, but the Godzilla NES is fun to read. Basically, someone wanted to buy Godzilla for NES, then after playing, there is a red thing pursuing them. Suddenly, someone starts communicating with them through the game, and then they beat the red thing. They sell the game, that's it. I'm glad that the author experimented with the format, like the Russian sleep experiments. Hello, ETNB is real life now for the rest of the video. The Russian sleep experiments is about people who conducted experiments on war prisoners, making them not sleep by using a gas. But then, the prisoners decided to get all too freaky by removing their skin, as well as other stuff, I guess. So when Freaky McFreak decided to remove his skin, he went to the hospital. So at the hospital he was like, "We are the real faces of human nature. Join us forever." Too bad they get shot. This isn't even the weirdest post-World War II experiment out there. There is worse, and this one isn't real. As for Eyeless Jack, someone wakes up, but then he sees Eyeless Jack. Then he goes back to sleep. Then suddenly he wakes up, but his liver is missing. He finds his liver, never calls the police. The end. Yeah, it exists, I guess. But at least it's not like sonic.exe, where Tom gets sent a package by Kyle, who decides to write, "Destroy this game at all costs. It must never be played by anyone." Unfortunately, the game is sonic.exe. And the thing is that this is a game where you don't even play as Sonic. Actually, the Sonic isn't the actual Sonic. It's sonic.exe, an evil version of Sonic that decides to basically destroy everyone's lives. From Tails, Knuckles, Eggman. Woo! Some people made a fan game of it. It's just a game where you just walk. Not even explore or anything. You just walk even more than in Gone Home. So then he is haunted by nightmares from sonic.exe. But then, the best twist of them all happens. An evil plushie of Sonic appears, and that's literally the end. Since this is about Sonic, people decided to make a bunch of sequels and spin-offs of it, including Sally.exe, where Cream, Sally, and Amy get haunted by Sonic. Woo! But there's also another sequel to Sonic.exe called Sonic.exe 2, where it adds that Tom wasn't really the only one being haunted. There were a bunch of other people, and it's part of an investigation, including a duo of detectives, of them whose life ends, and it's just an investigation, but also it's linked to a cult or something. And now, after a while, we get to discover that Sonic.exe is Lord X, the Lord of the Cult. And he takes people with him and brings them into his game for sadistic purposes. It's stupid. I hate Sonic.exe. Just bring up that one clip where Tails beats the crap out of him. It's too bad that Friday Night Funkin' revived him, and now there's a bunch of different Sonic.exes in very different art styles. They certainly will never make me like Sonic.exe, but at least they're really cool to look at, especially when they're not filled with static. Candle Cove is a creepypasta about a bunch of forum posts that are linked to this one show called Candle Cove. People remember a lot of things from it, including some creepy things. It had a bunch of puppets, including Pirate Pete or the Skinner. Yes, the Skinner. Then, at the end of the story, Grandma is like, "Oh ho ho, you silly kids and your imagination. I remember when you decided to watch Candle Cove, you'd always turn on the TV and it'd just be static that you'd watch. Oh ho ho, isn't that funny?" So yes, the twist is that the show never existed. Honestly, kind of a genius twist, and that's kinda it. The creator later decided to make a new show, a new horror web series called Local 58, which was literally a birth of a genre, which, let's just say it's a good thing. Other channels include that one 1999 creepypasta, where actually there is a Mr. Teddy Bear show, but however it's linked to a cult. It is apparently a show that used real people who were kidnapped or involved a cult of some kind. The thing is that this is one of the longest creepypastas in history, so TLDR. Remember My Little Pony? Well, there are creepypastas about My Little Pony, where people decide to simply let these ponies end each other in very painful ways. Sometimes it's for cupcakes, other times it's for fashion. I don't know, just do whatever you want. Ookie! And because of that, it has plenty of fan animations, which I wouldn't recommend. It's just that these bronies kind of decided to try getting rid of the family-friendly image that My Little Pony has to turn it into something edgier. I kind of blame other people, me included, that hated on it. However, other people were like, "Why are men effeminating themselves? Look at how colorful they are! They're disgusting!" Thinly veiled homophobia aside, the pony pastas sure existed the same way Mario did. A ROM hack where Mario goes through a bunch of creepy levels, but then text appears along with an annoying orange wannabe, and the text is like, I left the annoying orange on the counter to rot. So now it is my victim. At least it's not in black and white, unlike Sauce Mouse. So this small looping animation is about Mickey walking to the right. Then suddenly there are flashing colors that shouldn't have been possible. And then someone shows up who's like, "Hey, wanna play some TF2? I like to play as Spyro." And the thing is that the person who apparently watched this was burned to ashes by Pyro. Isn't that wonderful? There's also that abandoned island, but no!
We're not talking about it.
Smile Dog. Apparently, the person heard about the file called smile.jpg and they emailed the person who apparently had it, harassing the poor person until they eventually gave it to him. It is implied that their life ended after that. The protag looks at this picture. They get haunted by Smile Dog, and then suddenly he sends the picture to absolutely everyone else, so it's now spreading on the internet. It is then implied that their life ends after that. Yay! Nurse Joy. The thing about Nurse Joy is that apparently, according to the creepypasta, if you stay up late, you'll be captured and lobotomized by Nurse Joy, who will transform you into one of hers for some reason. The best part though is the narrator. The narrator is Chansey, who has witnessed all of these horrors by themselves. And they want to warn you, but they can't. At least it's not like the Ash Coma theory, where apparently everything that happens after episode 1 is in Ash's imagination for some reason. Some people thought this was the case. However, my favorite part is when it is implied that James is a manifestation of Ash's homosexuality. Yep! Seriously? Why wouldn't he be? Tell me this little thing is straight. Interior Totodile Forligator. I drive a Chevrolet 2D Theater. The theater was apparently an old PC game where you were about to watch a movie but you couldn't. Then you would restart the title, but the ticket person's face would be swirly. The end. This one is pretty neat because it's a lost game barely anyone can acknowledge, since the PC gaming industry could be pretty wild back in the 90s/2000s, or even slightly before that, thanks to text adventures. Pale Luna is a creepypasta about a pretty rare text adventure game called Pale Luna, but then when the protag tries to beat it, it just gives them some coordinates. Then they find Corpse Party for 3DS, and that's the pasta. Let's talk about the cartoon. The Beatles had a cartoon, which the protagonist enjoyed, so he found a VHS tape at a garage sale, plays it on his VHS. Ooh, it's a lost episode, so of course weird things happen, including blood, swearing, and a certain German leader appearing in the vomit. It's also kinda disrespectful to the actual ex-members of the Beatles, like John Lennon suddenly being evil. The VCR was on fire, so the person who sold it threw it in the trash. Main character sees 6 policemen arresting people on drugs. The people made the Beatles cartoon he watched. At least he got $200 from the police, since he watched the tape or something like that. Unfortunately, the tape appears at his house and says, "You shouldn't have watched that." The end. No, seriously, this is the end of the video. I wanna focus on that one other video for Halloween. So yeah, like and subscribe and woo!